Well, here's something interesting I've been working on. It's a Bass Pro Shops Prowler 55 trolling motor. Now, I know absolutely nothing about trolling motors. This is from a guy at work. He gave it to me to troubleshoot some problems, and there have been a lot of problems with it. Mainly, he'll be out in the water somewhere, trolling along, and the thing would just plain stop. And then he'd beat things around a little bit and it would start running again. He'd just do that constantly. And it took the fun out of fishing for him because he's spending more time messing around with this thing than he is trying to catch a fish. So he asked me if I'd take a look at it. I spent quite a bit of time this past weekend on it, time I really didn't have, but once I got started in it, I just couldn't stop. I had to figure out what was wrong with it. So, common sense tells you got this potentiometer in there that's open. By the way, this thing's a piece of junk. I looked around on forums. A lot of people said it was made by Minn Kota. Somebody else said Motor Guide. Well, it's actually made, it's like a knockoff of a Minn Kota or a Motor Guide that's made by, I don't know, I found some Chinese company, Sheng Bao something or other, I don't know what. But definitely looks like a nice trolling motor, but it really isn't. I found all kinds of problems with it. All of the fast on terminals on that switch were all loose as can be. So I pulled all them all off and squeezed them tighter and put them back on, marked them all where they went. Thought I had it, then it quit again, then ran again, quit again. Went up into the head here, tore the top off of that. Found a control wire to the relay board pinched between the screw and the case. So it was just basically held on by nothing but insulation. And the only reason it was making any contact at all is because the screw was right there and the wires for both sides were touching the screw, and that was giving your electrical contact. So I spliced that together, put it all in, and sure enough it still didn't work right. It would start and stop, start and stop. So I started the usual procedure, thought maybe wire was broken this cable somewhere. Went through and started doing continuity checks from the foot pedal into here, twisting things around, bending them. Couldn't find any discontinuities at all. So then I decided it was time to go to the lower unit. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, how in the heck is the speed control working on this? Because inside here, and like I said, I know nothing about trolling motors, so maybe this is all standard and I just don't have any clue of how these things work. But I'm looking in here and I'm saying to myself, this motor's supposed to pull 50 amps. There's nothing in there that's going to control 50 amps worth of power. I assume this is some sort of PWM. There's just some little circuit board in there that gives you like your battery reading and I don't know what else. That's about it. So rip this lower unit apart, and mounted right in there is this. Actually, it was more like that. Well, this happens to be the PWM control right in here, which sounds like a good idea. It's down in the water, so that'll keep it cool. And if you look here, there's a line of holes there, so those are probably, I would have to hope, MOSFETs there rather than standard bipolar transistors, but who knows, being Chinese designed. And basically this thing has kind of like a little bit of an interference fit in that case, and then they smeared like a couple little daub of heat sink compound on it. There's a little bit they put in here, you can see it in the screw hole, but most of it was over here. You can kind of see the stains from it. Well, this stinking thing, whether it has a bad solder joint or what, I don't know. It's totally encapsulated, I'll never get it apart. But that was your whole problem. To prove that, before I even pulled this unit apart, I took my little carpenter's hammer, and the thing would quit running, go like that, start running, quit running, start running again, maybe run for 5 minutes, maybe run for half an hour, then it quit, bang it again, runs again. Now, somewhere in here, I would have to think there's probably a bad solder joint. Never getting that thing apart. So basically what I did was I eliminated it, which what that means is he's going to have full speed all the time. Now what I am going to do, and I haven't done it yet, is this unit originally had, if you look at it, full on, turn that on, and basically depending upon how you ran this, that's what your speed was, and it was on all the time, or jogging mode, where you hit this little button here, and then that would run it, hold it down, and start, let off, and it stops. Well, I'm going to run the control circuit for this motor into this to where he can just jog it on and off. And I'm hoping, and I don't know this, and if somebody works on these trolling motors, maybe they know, this is a permanent magnet DC motor in here. I'm hoping it's going to be able to handle full straight DC voltage all the time, because the thing about PWM is you always have, even it's a very short time, at least some time at the zero voltage point. And with the straight DC, you're not going to have that. So I don't know if this motor is going to heat up. I wouldn't, or overheat or whatever. I wouldn't think so. It's going to be in the water anyways, which is going to provide some cooling. So I hope it's going to be all right. But anyways, I put this thing back together and eliminated this thing here and hooked the power leads directly up to the brushes. And the thing runs all the time, every time. Every time you turn it on, it shuts off when you shut it off, and off you go. Now, the guy that at work says that that's just fine to him to be able to jog. He's just happy to have the thing working. This stupid thing costs $300 or something, which if you look online and you look up this Prowler 55, you'll find all kinds of message board threads from people talking about them, and one guy actually worked at a Bass Pro Shops store and says they had these things stacked like cordwood in a bag of returns. It all sounded like basically the same problem. It would run, then quit, and then run, and quit, and not run at all, and then all of a sudden start running, and yeah. So basically, typical Chinese knockoff. They made her look real nice, but it's just not quite the same as the real thing. Of course, the real thing was probably twice that $300 they paid for. So, what do? Economy's bad. People are looking to save a buck, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. But anyways, I'll get this back to them and rewire that switch first so we can use it in like pulsating mode and just run it with his foot, and hopefully he'll be happy. If he doesn't like it, then I may just actually build a PWM control for this. We'll have to see what he wants to do. It's going to cost a little bit of money to do it. I don't know if he wants to put any money into this. He might just find a better deal on a good used one like Minn Coder or whatever, or Motor Guide or whatever's out there. So, well, anyway, just thought I'd show you something I was working on. I kind of have a reputation to be able to find problems with just about everything, so unfortunately I get junk like this I got to work on all the time, which I get paid for it, so I guess I don't mind, but I'd rather be working on my own stuff. But anyways, I guess that's it. Well, I now have this foot pedal disconnected, or disassembled, I guess. Basically, you just got this pin that goes through here. through there. It holds the thing together. This cable system is just for the steering. I guess that turns the motor back and forth. You got this little fin on the end there. I guess that's how you steer it. I don't know too much about it, but there's a little foot switch. That's what I'm going to use to have momentary power to this thing. Get a little bit closer look at this potentiometer. I can't believe on something that's going to be near water, possibly in water, they would put an open potentiometer in there. If you're looking at, there's big gaps in between each one of the terminals. That's just, I mean, that's poor. That's, I don't know, that's somebody trying to build something just as cheap as you could possibly build it. Because quite honestly, a good mil-spec potentiometer that's totally sealed isn't that expensive. So, anyways, I got to rewire this switch here. Originally, the way this was set up, regardless of what position you turned this on, it would kick on the relay to the power to the motor. But depending upon which way you turn the switch on, it would either run the one signal lead to the potentiometer through this momentary switch, or it would bypass that. When it bypassed it, that means the power actually had whatever speed you had the pot set at all the time, or if it ran through the switch, then basically it bypassed it, or I mean you had momentary control. On then off, on then off. That's how they did the momentary control on there, which is kind of chintzy, running right through the potentiometer, but that may be the way they run things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this here happens to be the power lead to the relay board, and I'm going to connect that to this blue wire. Actually, I'll probably do it to black wire. Run that through the switch, and out the other side will be the blue wire. I'll take this blue wire and connect it right there. So when I'm in the momentary mode, it runs through that switch, and he'll be able to control that by using his hand, using his foot or his hand to start or stop the trolling motor. It's not really the best way to do it, but this will save him from having to buy another trolling motor. And like I said earlier, if he decides that's not acceptable, which he may or may not, he wants to try it and see, I'll just build him an external PWM unit for this, and he can control the speed basically with an external box. Okay, well, I better get to work. It's getting late. That's what I'm talking about right there. Mission accomplished.